Christmas is the season of joy, laughter, and togetherness. Or at least, it's supposed to be. But what happens when a seemingly innocent holiday tradition takes a sinister turn? Tonight, we'll uncover the chilling tale of a family haunted by something far darker than they could ever imagine, a malevolent force disguised in holiday cheer. You think you know Santa Claus? Think again. This isn't the jolly old man you leave cookies and milk for. This is something far more terrifying. Stay tuned as we unravel the horrifying story of the Dark Santa. It was a snowy evening in December, and the Carter family was on their annual holiday tradition, a trip to the bustling Willow Creek Mall. The mall was alive with Christmas cheer, sparkling lights, towering decorations, and the sound of carolers singing in perfect harmony. Lily Carter, an excitable 8-year-old with a heart full of Christmas spirit, couldn't contain her excitement as they approached the main attraction, the Santa's Grotto. Lily clutched her mother's hand tightly, her eyes wide with wonder. "Do you think Santa already knows what I want for Christmas?" she asked, with a grin that made her freckled cheeks glow. Her father, Jack, chuckled, adjusting his scarf against the chilly air. "I'm sure he does, sweetheart, but it never hurts to remind him." As they neared the velvet ropes of Santa's Grotto, something felt off. The usually cheerful elves seemed uneasy, their smiles a little too forced. The line moved quickly, and soon it was Lily's turn to meet the man of the hour. Santa sat on an ornate red throne, surrounded by fake snow and oversized candy canes. But unlike the jolly Santa they expected, this one had a demeanor that was unsettling. His suit was a deeper red, almost crimson, and his eyes were a piercing shade of blue that felt too sharp for comfort. His grin stretched wide, but there was something cold behind it. "Come closer, little one," he said, his voice smooth but hollow, like wind whistling through a graveyard. Lily hesitated for a moment before climbing onto his lap. "And what would you like for Christmas this year?" he asked, leaning in closer than seemed necessary. Lily listed her wishes, her excitement momentarily overriding the unease that hung in the air. As she finished, Santa reached into a sack at his side and pulled out a small, worn teddy bear. "This is for you, Lily," he said, somehow knowing her name without asking. The bear was old but oddly charming, with a crooked smile stitched across its face. "Thank you, Santa," Lily beamed, clutching the bear tightly. Her parents exchanged a quick glance, sensing something wasn't quite right. Jack took Lily's hand as they moved away from the grotto, his protective instincts kicking in. As they walked back through the mall, Lily kept her gaze fixed on the bear, whispering to it as if it were alive. Her mother, Sarah, leaned over to Jack. "Did he seem strange to you?" she whispered. Jack nodded. "Let's just get home." Before leaving the mall, Sarah turned back for one last look at the grotto. To her surprise, Santa was gone. The chair sat empty, the surrounding elves packing up in hurried silence. A shiver ran down her spine. That night, as snow blanketed the town, the Carter family returned home with what they thought was just another holiday memory. But little did they know, their Christmas was about to take a sinister turn. The bear in Lily's arms wasn't just a gift, it was the beginning of a nightmare. That night, the Carter household was warm and festive, with the soft glow of Christmas lights illuminating the living room. Lily, still clutching the old teddy bear, insisted on taking it everywhere, even to the dinner table. Jack chuckled as he watched her, but Sarah couldn't shake the uneasy feeling lingering in the back of her mind. "Lily, what's so special about that bear?" Jack asked, playfully ruffling her hair. "He talks to me," Lily replied matter-of-factly, her tone innocent but unsettling. Jack and Sarah exchanged a glance, unsure whether to laugh or worry. "Kids and their imaginations," Jack muttered under his breath, dismissing the comment. After dinner, Lily placed the bear on the mantel next to the stockings, saying it needed to watch over the family. Sarah, trying to maintain her composure, decided not to argue. But as the evening wore on, strange things began to happen. The Christmas tree lights started flickering, even though Jack had replaced the bulbs just the day before. The family cat, Snowball, hissed at the bear, her fur standing on end as if sensing something unseen. "She's just being dramatic," Jack said, scooping up the cat to calm her down. But Sarah noticed that Snowball's gaze remained fixed on the bear, unblinking and fearful. Later, as they prepared for bed, Lily insisted on taking the bear to her room. "He doesn't like being alone," she said softly, her words sending a chill down Sarah's spine. "Okay, sweetheart, but let's not forget the real reason for Christmas," Sarah said, trying to steer the conversation towards something more comforting. That night, strange noises echoed through the house. Jack woke up to what sounded like faint whispers coming from Lily's room. Thinking it was just Lily talking in her sleep, he decided to check on her. When he opened the door, he saw Lily sitting upright in bed, staring intently at the bear, as if listening to something. "Lily, what are you doing awake?" Jack asked, his voice filled with concern. "He's telling me about the other children he visited," Lily replied, her tone distant and monotone. Jack's heart skipped a beat. He took the bear from her and placed it on a shelf, telling her it was time to sleep. The next morning, Sarah found the bear back in Lily's arms, even though Jack swore he had left it on the shelf. "Did you get up in the middle of the night to grab it?" Sarah asked Lily, but the little girl shook her head. "He came back by himself," she said, her eyes wide with innocence. Throughout the day, the atmosphere in the house grew heavier. Jack and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of their vision, and the house, once warm and cheerful, now felt oppressively cold. By evening, Sarah decided it was time to investigate the origins of the bear. She searched online, typing in a description of the teddy bear and the Santa they had encountered. What she found made her blood run cold. Stories of other families who had received similar gifts from a mysterious Santa, all of whom had experienced strange and terrifying events. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just a harmless toy, it was something far darker. And whatever it was, it had made its way into their home. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The discovery about the bear weighed heavily on her mind, and every small creak in the house felt amplified in the suffocating silence. She stared at the ceiling, her heart racing as the hours crawled by. Jack, lying beside her, had fallen into an uneasy sleep, muttering occasionally about things Sarah couldn't make out. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed through the house, jolting Sarah upright. She grabbed Jack's arm, shaking him awake. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Jack groaned and rubbed his eyes. "Probably just the wind," he muttered, but the sound of a second thud made him sit up. They crept down the hallway, the dim light from the Christmas tree casting eerie shadows along the walls. As they approached Lily's room, they could hear a faint humming sound, almost like a lullaby, coming from inside. Jack slowly pushed the door open, revealing Lily sitting cross-legged on the floor with the bear in front of her. "Lily, what are you doing?" Sarah asked, her voice a mix of fear and confusion. Lily looked up at her parents, her expression oddly serene. "He's teaching me a Christmas song," she said, pointing at the bear. The melody was unlike any carol Sarah had ever heard, dark, haunting, and filled with an unsettling energy. Jack stepped forward, grabbing the bear and holding it up as if inspecting it. "Enough of this," he said firmly. "It's just a toy, Lily, and it's bedtime." But as he turned to leave, the room's atmosphere seemed to shift. The temperature dropped sharply, and Lily's bedroom lights flickered before plunging them into darkness. A low, guttural laugh filled the room, echoing as if it came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Jack froze, clutching the bear tightly as Sarah grabbed Lily and pulled her close. "Who's there?" Jack demanded, his voice shaking. The laugh stopped abruptly, leaving an oppressive silence in its wake. Sarah turned on her phone's flashlight, its beam illuminating the small, cluttered room. The bear was still in Jack's hands, its stitched smile now seeming more sinister than ever. "We need to get rid of that thing," Sarah said urgently, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded, his grip tightening on the toy. They took the bear downstairs, intending to throw it outside in the trash bin. Jack stepped out into the freezing night air, shivering as he tossed the bear into the garbage. "There," he said, slamming the lid shut. But as they turned to head back inside, they heard a faint, muffled voice coming from the bin. "It's not over," the voice said, chilling and clear. Jack froze, staring at the trash bin as Sarah pulled him back inside. "We'll deal with it tomorrow," she said, her voice trembling. "Let's just get through the night." But as they locked the doors and turned off the lights, they couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. The Carter family huddled together in the living room, the soft glow of the Christmas tree doing little to dispel the growing sense of dread. Upstairs, Lily's room sat eerily quiet, and in the dark corner where the bear had once sat, a shadow began to stir. The morning light brought little comfort to the Carter family. Sarah had barely slept, and Jack, too, looked as if he had spent the night on edge. Lily, however, was cheerful as always, as though the night's eerie events hadn't fazed her. "Where's my bear?" she asked innocently over breakfast, sending a chill down Sarah's spine. We threw it away, honey," Jack said cautiously, glancing at Sarah for support. "It was old and dirty. We'll get you a new one." Lily frowned, her cheerful demeanor dimming for the first time. "But he doesn't like being left outside," she murmured, poking at her cereal. Determined to move on, Jack left for work, while Sarah tried to distract Lily with Christmas crafts and baking. But as the hours passed, strange occurrences resumed. Ornaments fell from the tree, shattering inexplicably on the floor. The TV flickered, showing static that occasionally formed shapes Sarah couldn't quite make out. Then came the sound of faint knocking at the back door. Sarah froze, glancing toward the kitchen where the noise had come from. Peeking through the window, she saw nothing but snow drifting softly onto their porch. She exhaled deeply, convincing herself it was just her imagination. But as she turned away, a loud thud rattled the door. She whipped back around, heart pounding, and swung the door open only to find the teddy bear sitting on the snowy porch, its button eyes staring up at her. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she slammed the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. When Jack returned home, Sarah wasted no time showing him the bear. "It's back," she said, her voice a mixture of fear and frustration. "I threw it away," Jack exclaimed, grabbing the bear and inspecting it as though it might hold answers. "This doesn't make any sense." Lily came running into the room, her face lighting up when she saw the bear. "You found him," she squealed, hugging it tightly. Jack and Sarah exchanged a worried glance, but didn't have the heart to take it away from her again, not yet. That night, Jack decided to burn the bear. "We can't let this thing stay here," he said firmly. "It's not normal, Sarah. You saw how it came back." Sarah reluctantly agreed, and the two of them snuck the bear outside while Lily slept. Jack started a fire in their outdoor pit, tossing the bear onto the crackling flames. They watched as the fire consumed it, its fur curling and blackening. But instead of burning away, the bear seemed to resist, its body remaining eerily intact as an acrid smoke filled the air. Suddenly, the fire flared violently, forcing Jack and Sarah to stumble back. A guttural laugh echoed through the night, deep and menacing. Then, as quickly as it had flared, the fire died down, leaving nothing but ashes and no trace of the bear. Their relief was short-lived. As they walked back into the house, the Christmas tree lights flickered, and Lily's voice called out from upstairs, "He's back!" Sarah and Jack sprinted up the stairs, their hearts racing. Lily's laughter echoed eerily down the hall, a sharp contrast to the oppressive dread that filled the house. As they reached her room, they froze. There, In the center of the floor sat the bear, pristine and untouched, as if it had never been in the fire. Lily was twirling around, singing a hauntingly familiar tune. "Lily, step away from the bear," Jack commanded, his voice shaking. But Lily ignored him, her wide eyes fixed on the toy, as though entranced. "He's not just a bear," she said dreamily. "He's Santa's helper, and he says I've been very good this year." Sarah grabbed Lily's arm, pulling her away. "Lily, listen to me," she said urgently. "That thing is not your friend. We need to get rid of it for good this time." But as Sarah tried to drag Lily out of the room, the bear's button eyes glowed faintly red, and the door slammed shut on its own. The temperature in the room plummeted, their breaths visible in the freezing air. A deep, menacing voice filled the space, vibrating in their chests. "You cannot stop what has begun," it growled. "She is mine now." Jack lunged at the bear, determined to destroy it. But as he grabbed it, an invisible force flung him across the room, slamming him into the wall. Sarah screamed, shielding Lily as the bear's small form began to change, elongating into a grotesque, humanoid figure clad in tattered red fabric. Its face was pale and twisted, resembling a horrifying parody of Santa Claus. "Who are you?" Sarah shouted, her voice trembling with terror. The creature tilted its head, its button eyes now replaced with hollow, glowing sockets. "I am the shadow of Christmas," it hissed. "The forgotten, the unwanted, and your daughter will be my gift." Lily, still under its spell, began to walk toward the creature, her movements slow and deliberate. "No!" Sarah screamed, holding her daughter tightly. She turned to Jack, who was struggling to his feet. "Jack, we have to do something." Jack grabbed the nearby Bible from Lily's nightstand, clutching it as though it were their last hope. "Stay behind me," he told Sarah, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. He began to recite a prayer aloud, his voice gaining strength with each word. The creature shrieked, its distorted form writhing as though the words physically pained it. It clawed at the air, stumbling back toward the corner of the room. "You cannot banish me forever," it roared, its voice cracking like thunder. "I will return." With one final blood-curdling scream, the creature disintegrated into a cloud of ash, swirling before disappearing into the air. The room fell silent, the oppressive chill replaced by an eerie calm. The bear lay on the floor once again, lifeless and charred. Jack collapsed to his knees, breathing heavily, as Sarah hugged Lily tightly. "It's over," Sarah whispered, her voice shaky but filled with relief. But deep down, she couldn't shake the lingering fear that the nightmare might not truly be over. The Carter family spent the rest of the night huddled in the living room, unwilling to return upstairs. The events had left them shaken, and silence hung heavily in the air. Jack, still clutching the Bible, stared blankly at the flickering fireplace, while Sarah held Lily close, stroking her hair as if trying to comfort herself as much as her daughter. As dawn broke, a sense of fragile normalcy returned. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, as though holding its breath. Jack decided it was time to take action. "We need to get rid of that thing permanently," he said, gesturing to the charred bear, which they had left on the coffee table. "No more burying or burning. We'll take it far away and leave it where it can never find us again." They drove miles out of town, into the depths of the snowy forest. Jack dug a deep hole while Sarah and Lily stayed in the car, watching nervously. He placed the bear into the ground and covered it with earth, packing the snow tightly on top. As he finished, the wind howled through the trees, carrying an eerie, whispered warning. "I'll be back." Jack froze, his breath visible in the freezing air. But he shook it off, determined to leave the nightmare behind. The drive home was quiet, the family too exhausted to speak. When they arrived, Lily ran to her room, seemingly her cheerful self again. "Do you think it's really over?" Sarah asked Jack, her voice filled with uncertainty. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It has to be," he said, though the doubt in his voice betrayed his words. That evening, as the family tried to move on, they gathered in the living room to watch a Christmas movie. The warmth of the fireplace and the twinkling lights of the tree offered a fragile sense of peace. But just as the movie started, the screen flickered to static. A distorted voice crackled through the speakers, whispering,
"Merry Christmas."
Sarah gasped, grabbing Jack's arm as the lights on the tree blinked erratically. The fire in the hearth dimmed, casting long flickering shadows across the room. "It's not over," she whispered, her voice trembling. Upstairs, Lily's laughter rang out suddenly, sending a chill through their spines. "Mom, Dad, he's back," she called joyfully. Jack and Sarah bolted up the stairs, their hearts pounding. As they burst into Lily's room, they stopped dead in their tracks. The charred bear was sitting on Lily's bed, but this time it wasn't alone. A shadowy figure loomed in the corner, its glowing eyes piercing through the darkness. The twisted figure of the malevolent Santa Claus grinned at them, his jagged teeth glinting in the faint light. "You can't escape Christmas," the creature growled. "It's time for the real festivities to begin." If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more chilling and mysterious tales like this one, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep bringing you content like this. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. Share it with your friends who love a good mystery, and let us know in the comments what you thought about this story. See you next time.